Hi everyone. On September 16th, India's favorite yoga guru Baba Ramdev announced to list 4 Patanjali companies for IPO over the course of 5 years. This is backed up with an ambitious plan for Patanjali group of companies, which is the second biggest FMCG player already in the country, to take the turnover to 1 lakh crores from the current standing of 40,000 crores, which by the way will make Patanjali, just a decade-old company, the biggest FMCG conglomerate in India, leaving behind the global giants like HUL, Colgate and P&G. So the question arises, how did Patanjali manage to achieve such a feat in such a short span of time? What were the strategies and factors which led to the meteoric rise of the conglomerate, which has turned it into a money-minting machine for Baba Ramdev? People, I'm sure many of you won't be aware of the fact that Baba Ramdev in reality is not the owner of Patanjali Group, rather just the brand ambassador. Patanjali's 94% stake is actually owned by his long-term close friend Acharya Balakrishna, who in fact is the 26th richest Indian with a personal wealth of more than 25,000 crores. Now some of you might be like, how is that even possible? How can Baba not be the convener of the humongous wealth he has so created? Well, that's because Baba is a sannyasi who has given up the pursuit of worldly pleasures, including things like wealth and fame, is prohibited from owning companies. If he was to take a direct stake in Patanjali, that would make him violate the sacrosanct code of religious ethics, and that is why Mr. Balakrishna is the one running the business empire as the primary stakeholder. But then the question arises that how was a yoga guru able to elevate himself to be the face of not just a brand, but a conglomerate which he does not even own? Well, to understand this, let's take a stroll through Baba's journey, which had very humble beginnings. Baba was born to a farmer from Haryana and very early in his life had understood the harsh reality of life, that if he was not willing to change his life on his own, then he too will end up drenched in debt traps and poverty. So Baba, calm as his personality was, went on his own in search of gurukuls in the hopes that he might be able to learn at least some new things from the teachers and his peers there. And this resulted in Baba getting intrigued by yogic postures and booklets and started to indulge himself as well as his peers in breathing exercises and headstands. Then in his youth and with his aide Balakrishna, Baba started Divya Pharmacy, an Ayurvedic center where medical consultations were free and the patients were only charged with medicines. This can be characterized as Baba's first genius business model, which also had social benefit at the heart of it. This model differentiated Baba's pharmacy from others since they charged for consultations also apart from the medicines. This resulted in huge success for Divya Pharmacy, and it started driving people from not only Haridwar but also as far as Dehradun to get free consultations. But the thing to be noticed here is that even after his pharmacy's success, Baba did not lose sight of his free or nominally charged yoga camps, which he ran simultaneously with the objective to instill fitness among the people. Slowly and steadily, Baba's yoga camps started gaining traction, and the surging curiosity of surging crowds to Baba's camps started drawing high-profile people such as the district magistrate and superintendent of police, which further led to increased fanfare and enlargement of social circle for Baba's career. But the question arises that what was so special about Baba's yoga camps, which made them so popular among the masses? Well, 3 things actually. Number 1, you see, Baba started the service as a goodwill gesture, which was either free or had a very nominal fee for masses to actually experience true yoga in action. If you look closely, this is very similar to the model Jio adopted when it disrupted the telecom sector by giving out free SIM cards and data packs to the consumers. The influence of free service being offered to Indians, and that too for a cause which could make your life better, was a sure shot hit since the beginning, and Baba, as the genius he is, implemented it flawlessly. Secondly, although India has given yoga to the world, even then, we have always seen a dearth of Indian yoga teachers or professionals. Baba's incoming didn't just simply put back yoga on the map for India, it also provided authentic yoga practice to a market which was totally untapped or maybe dominant before. And thirdly, Baba always made sure that his credibility could not be questioned. And since the beginning, he made up his mind to not venture into the realm of religious and spiritual teaching. Not only this, never did he try to mystify yoga or pranayam as sacred tools of worship, and his model and motto was simple and unlike any Swami. He provided a simple code to the people using which they could live in a healthy body and do possibly more with that healthy body in a healthy lifetime it brought. He was unique in that he sold people a dream of good health with a rather practical and cost-effective path. So by now, Baba had government officials, journalists and other big shots visiting his camps as we have established. This provided Baba the opportunity he could not have dreamt of but was definitely seeking: television. And luckily enough, it was the golden period of gurus going on, with Astha and Sanskar channels dominating the mornings in almost every Indian household with the aged parents or grandparents. Baba at this time was offered an opportunity for a spot with Astha channel, but the catch was the eccentric and unique business models on which these channels used to work. People, those days the spiritual channels like Astha and Sanskar did not run on the usual advertisement-based revenue model. This model had two verticals. See, firstly, the revenue from gurus to whom they gave time slots on their channels, which then ultimately led to the guru campaigning for new devotees, who will then in turn shell out money in the form of donations or purchase merchandise offered to the guru. But the channel's management made sure to get the guru to sign a contract to take a hefty cut out of any form of revenue being generated by the guru's reputation. So now when this is clear, coming back to Baba. Within just 3 years of his first televised appearance on Astha in 2003, Baba's empire, which by now included Divya Pharmacy Building, Patanjali Yogpeeth 1, which was the Ayurved hospital and college, and Patanjali Yogpeeth 2, which was house to nursery for growing medicinal herbs, all was worth over 100 crores. Money had started pouring in the form of donations from well-wishers, and you would not believe this, but Baba's stature was so renowned by now that big businessmen started giving lands in gifts to Baba. Just imagine the level of following and love being showered on one person. But believe it or not, this was just the beginning of stardom for Baba. All this success was fueling Baba's creativity, and he was able to see a future beyond pharmacy and medicine for Patanjali. Because Baba had long back identified the main ingredient which could fuel the fire, which we'll discuss in a bit, this further resulted into the evolution of Patanjali, which was run by trust initially and now was being registered as a corporation to offer FMCG products. And thus, ladies and gentlemen, Patanjali had arrived. So by now, I think we all have a clear understanding of how Patanjali is in fact Baba's inception and brainchild, and how Baba is not just a brand ambassador, but Baba is Patanjali. But, now the question is, how did Patanjali manage to dominate the FMCG space? How did it disrupt the market after all? The short version is, it's all philosophy, but the long version is more fun. Before diving in, just to give an overview, we'll be discussing two major segments which led Patanjali to its disruption. The first one being Baba's genius marketing strategy, and the second one, Baba's genius philosophy. In order to understand the disruption, let's first put this into some context. What was the disruption? Why were all the players in FMCG segment shivering at the mention of this firm? What the hell was going on? Well, what was happening was that Patanjali was the fastest growing FMCG company in Indian history. It was not a company, but rather the company whose revenue multiplied 15 times from 317 crores in 2010-11 to an astonishing 5,000 crores in 2015-16. It was the company which grew with a CAGR of over 100% annually, while its peers were struggling to achieve even a double-digit growth. This was what was going on, and a part of it was all because of Baba's genius marketing strategy. Baba and Balakrishna used a very popular behavioral economic principle known as the bandwagon effect, which refers to our habit of adopting certain behaviors or beliefs because other people do the same. Let's break down how it was a genius move to make use of this principle. People, Baba and Balakrishna knew that they had a captive market at hand now, which was health conscious, wanted affordable products, believed in the philosophy introduced back by Baba, and most importantly, they were loyal to brand Baba Ramdev. So instead of selling their products to these loyalists, they were instead presented with grand visions of becoming rich by offering them franchisees and distribution of products. This led to the products being distributed and marketed at the grassroots level in their own villages and cities instead of the traditional channels which the multinational FMCG firms follow. And to top it all, this was being done via faces who pushed brand Patanjali in the mind of local masses. But what established local masses to further buy and adopt Patanjali products were the two main reasons which lead to the bandwagon effect. 1. To avoid feeling left out and excluded, people adopt products and ideas. And 2. Widespread popularity provides credibility to the products, thus people buy them. So simply put, when few people in a particular locality were adopting Patanjali products and others didn't want to miss out on that Patanjali bandwagon, and thus the strategy had worked its magic. Now, I've previously mentioned Baba had identified the main ingredient, but what I didn't mention was that this ingredient was the disruption, Ayurveda and its purity. But the catch here is that this was not the only tangent Baba could drive and depend on. So he brought back a popular philosophy of protectionism, which worked along with other driving principles to provide Patanjali the superpower it was in search of. Guys, we had explained protectionism in detail in our video about how dollar impacts the world economy, so you can check that out. But to explain it briefly, protectionism refers to protecting the domestic companies from foreign competition. Baba instilled this protectionism philosophy with the help of repeated mentions of Gandhiji's Swadeshi movement during televised yoga sessions, and bringing up East India Company and the references as to how they kept looting us for centuries. So people, if you fill the gaps in here, the formula for Patanjali's success is very simple and can be traced to philosophical nostalgia plus cheaper products plus the notion of pure and healthy products. And so I ask you, how was Patanjali not to be the behemoth it is today? Well, if you guys have any thoughts, do let me know in the comments below. And if you like the content, do hit that like button below and please make sure to subscribe to the channel. I'll see you all in the next episode. Mindfulness signing off.